Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Produce Buzzers podcast. We are so happy you have joined us today, and I think you will be too after the show is over, because you will learn a lot about fresh fruits and vegetables, how to select and store them, how to prepare and cook them, and surprising facts about their history and origin. We hope it inspires you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, not only for your health, but also for your delight and pleasure as you explore their amazing world of taste and delicious flavors. Eating more of them will transform your life in so many positive ways. So settle back, relax, and get ready for another delicious adventure with the Produce Buzzers. Greetings and welcome to another delicious episode of the Produce Buzzers podcast. I'm Edwin Stepp, your host and executive editor of ProduceBuzz.com. I'm joined once again by Teresa Nolan, the president and founder of Produce Buzz, along with Rick Stepp, a contributing editor to Produce Buzz. The lovely Cynthia Benedetto could not join us today because of some family obligations, but she'll be back soon on another episode. So, Produce Buzzers podcast fans, we have a very exciting, exotic episode for you today. What do you think of when you hear that word, exotic? No doubt it brings to mind some very pleasant images. Perhaps first, a beautiful, soft, white, sandy beach lined with palm trees being lapped by crystal blue water. How about beautifully strange animals in a tropical jungle or on an African plain, cautiously interacting at a waterhole just created by a refreshing rainstorm? Or maybe you think of a person, a handsome man or a beautiful woman who is enticingly unique. But what do you think we here at Produce Buzz first think of when we hear the word exotic? Yes, that's right. You guessed it. Fruit. The world abounds with so many strange and wonderful fruits that fill us with excitement when we learn about them, and even more so when we can taste them. So today, we are going to explore a few of those marvelous exotics with a representative from a company that grows, packs, exports, and imports premium exotic fruits from all over the Americas. Today's guest is Chris Palumbo, one of the founders of Goldenberry Farms, a premier importer and exporter of exotic fruits of all kinds. But Goldenberry Farms' mission and vision is much more than just selling fruit. They were founded as a social impact company with a goal of ensuring sustainability and environmental stewardship throughout their growing operations, and also the fair and equitable treatment of the farmers and farm workers who grow their fruit. Chris joins us today to talk about the work they do to bring you delicious fruits to spice up your diet. Stay tuned to hear about the fruits they grow, but more importantly, to hear the inspiring message he has for how you, as a consumer, can make a positive difference in the food supply chain. Welcome to the show, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, hey Edwin. Great to be here.
Thanks for taking. Yeah, we're doing well. Thanks for taking time. We're really excited to jump into this and learn more about Goldenberry Farms. I've seen your fruit being exhibited at trade shows, and I'm on your newsletter. You always have some interesting things to share in the newsletter, so I'm glad to have you today. But before we get into Goldenberry Farms, I want to know about Chris Palumbo. How did you get into the produce business? What's your background?
Sure. I am a fruit lover and fresh vegetable lover, and I really believe that most of us in the industry have a shared mission of enjoying what we do and enjoying the product, and many of us have the mission to also help other people enjoy more fruits and vegetables and maybe an overall healthier lifestyle. So I've always been a big fan of exercise, fitness. My parents and grandparents, it's kind of a hereditary thing. And of course, my Italian grandparents are always telling the freshest ingredients makes the best food, and we have to have fresh. So I actually grew up in New Jersey, but farm fresh was a thing, and we always really looked forward to the summer and when we could get locally sourced produce. And I remember one of the real joys of my childhood was going apple or peach picking with my grandparents and go berry picking in New Jersey. And I think it's a real special memory. And I think the more we can introduce these experiences and these stories and this idea that it's more than just eating healthy, but but there's memories that can be created if we work well. So I know we'll get into the business side of it, but my background is of a fruit lover. On the business side, I have a degree in business and also in economics, and I'm an entrepreneur. So
Hmm.
before being on the executive board of Goldenberry Farms, I was a founder, this is almost 20 years ago, of a vitamin and weight loss brand called Balanced Diet.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
So we started as a very small supplement company, and we grew. We had a 1-800 weight loss and a chain of weight loss stores, and we started to build our business through more products and supplements and vitamins. My personal experience was that company, we received a VC, a venture capital investment. And of course, being young and being our first company, we thought that we really did it. We built a company, we got an institutional investor. Wow. Um, we didn't realize at the time what that meant, and what it sometimes means is growth at all costs. And so in our little microcosm, they were really pushing us to use lower priced ingredients and make more products. And we had never really envisioned Balanced Diet to be this warehouse of pills and having 50 different products. Always we thought of it as more of like a premium vitamin, premium supplement. So the long story short is I had a business experience where when we sold the company and had an exit, by a lot of business accounts, it was a success. But for me personally, I found myself not feeling very fulfilled by that, because what we wound up doing is putting a lot of kind of junky products and things that I thought we could have done better on the shelves of many retailers.
Well, hats off to you for that. That's brave, but you held to your convictions. I have to stop you just to commend you for that.
Thanks, Edwin. I think we all have the power to do our best. And I think if you're doing good, doesn't have to come at the cost of doing good business, right? So
Yeah.
I really believe those things can and should be hand in hand. So it was kind of with that premise that we started to look for what could be next, what could be a good project. And I always came back to food, because I said, well, it'd be really cool having nothing, no experience in the produce industry, of course, except being a consumer. I had no idea the complexities and the logistics and the backside of it. But I did
Yes.
have a love for the fruit and a good know-how of marketing. So Goldenberry Farms is a very interesting project, because Goldenberry actually began just about 4 years ago
Oh,
as a
really?
social impact investment, and it was designed to be a social impact investment um, of a farm outside of Medellin, Colombia. Medellin is
Hmm.
the second city of Colombia. It's only a couple hours by plane from Miami. It's a very up and coming spot. But Colombia itself had been affected by a civil war that had raged there in the past, and they were struggling a little bit with getting people to invest outside of the main cities to really build up the country. So the Colombian government was doing this program to encourage offshore and foreign investors to invest in Colombia, but not in the cities, in the rural areas. And if you did that, and your investment created jobs and created a workforce, there was a special designation called ZOMAC that they gave you that allowed you to operate tax exempt for 12 years, or tax deferred or reduced. Um, and I think for my partners, that seemed a very interesting proposition. For me, it seemed like a case of win-win, right? You can have some benefits, but you can invest and do something. And I have to say, it was very exotic, the idea of starting a project in Colombia, and as something about growing fresh fruit and tropical fruit, which I really love. And as a consumer, even living in Miami, we have some tropical fruit, but it's not like if you go abroad and you really just have a breakfast that has
Right.
every fruit under the rainbow. So I really was hoping that we could somehow, or I could somehow deliver to consumers a little bit of that type of experience. And having grown up in the Northeast, I can tell you during the winter, we really didn't even have a lot of the tropical fruit that's out there. It was just not available. Now, of course, that's changing, and growers like Goldenberry Farms are doing a lot to help bring it directly from the farms to the major retailers. But
Yeah.
really, this project got started as a social impact investment. And the idea was just to have this farm outside of Medellin where we would grow goldenberries. And a goldenberry, if you don't know, is also called a Cape gooseberry.
Right.
And some people just call them gooseberries. But this is actually a Cape gooseberry is a goldenberry, which is a golden colored fruit. It's not actually a berry. It's actually in the nightshade family. So it's in the same
Uh,
family, tomatillos, and
they
kind of
look
a
a lot
cousin.
like tomatillas too. And that, do they call it a Cape gooseberry because of that wrap that's around it? Is that why, or is it another
Exactly the
reason?
same wrap that a tomatillo has. The
Yeah. So,
nightshade family of fruit and vegetables has this wrap that protects the fruit, and
right.
that protective wrap actually helps with shelf life because it keeps the whole piece intact, and
Yeah.
it creates the nightshades have some of the fruit with the most potent antioxidants and health benefits. A lot of times because the fruit doesn't degrade as quickly because of the way that it grows. So it was a very interesting fruit to start with, and it's the Cape gooseberry, the goldenberry, is actually one of the highest with an ORAC. ORAC is the rating of antioxidants, and
Oh,
sometimes when we think of food that has really high antioxidants, we might think of like blackberries or blueberries or green tea, but the goldenberry actually has 3 times the antioxidants of green tea,
hmm.
and it also has vitamin B and C and zinc. So the taste is a very tropical taste. Have you ever had one?
Oh yeah, I love them. I tell you, I've been a fan of them for a few years now. I love that there's a right perfect blend of tart and sweet for me. It fits my. It's
I was
exactly what I like.
it's exactly like that. It's
Yeah.
tart and sweet. It's a little bit of a more sophisticated taste because you do have those combinations.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really a nice fruit for mixing. It's a nice fruit for cooking. And I think every few years the North American marketplace can absorb a new item and they're
Yeah.
ready. A lot of new things make its way to North America, but they don't quite make it to mainstream, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a mix of the timing and the market. But um, our experience has been post-COVID, consumers are more aware in general of what they're buying, and the demand for tropical fruit seems to be much higher. I think probably because a lot of the social media and a lot of the posts you see from exotic places, and people are like, "Oh, I'd like to try that mangosteen," or "Oh, I never knew of a jackfruit." So
Yeah.
I think that's been a really interesting boost to the produce industry. And our job as a grower is, of course, also one of education. It's very, very important because you could have all the golden berries in the world, but if someone hadn't tried them like yourself, they may sit on the shelf and never be enjoyed.
Yeah. You see them sitting there. It's if you've never seen one, you would be very puzzled. You might think it's not sweet at all. It could be like a cherry tomato. They kind of look like a little cherry tomato with a cape on it, with that wrap on it. And that texture is very similar to it's they're a little bit firmer than a small tomato, but they have that pop when you bite into them and the juice comes out. That's another great part of tasting
They
them.
do have a pop. They do have a
But
pop.
but back to I didn't mean to interrupt your point because you
Oh,
were saying that if people don't know what they are, they're probably not going to just pick them up on the shelf and wait and spend money to take a chance on something they don't know how to use or won't like. So the
yeah,
education part is
Goldenberries have been available in the U.S. market for almost 12 years.
okay.
But as you know, they have not made it to even close to I don't say mainstream, but not even close to that in terms of appeal. A lot of times it takes organization on the side of making an association or having a cooperative of growers or exporters or importers to work together to educate on the fruit. So we're lucky here because we have things like the mango board, and that really goes a long way. But there is no goldenberry board, so so
Well, let's start
goldenberry.
one, Chris. You and me. Let's
Well,
start the Goldenberry board.
Goldenberry Farms actually has a website, goldenberries.org, and the
Oh,
idea
okay.
behind that was to give the website to an association that we could be a part of, and we really fell in love with the idea of that, taking this exotic fruit, teaching people about it, helping them enjoy it, and kind of creating this circle of good. So the mantra of Goldenberry Farms is where good things grow.
Hmm.
And that kind of resonated very well with me. As you know, my backstory, I wanted to be part of a project that's doing good things. And so for us at Goldenberry Farms, the circle is very complete because our investment into rural areas of Latin America where people had no jobs, they had no income to really count with. So we've checked that box. We are a sustainable grower. Many of our farms have regeneration type projects. All of our farms have conservation zones. So we are we're really, as we grow, beefing up our education, that we work with other local growers, whether it's Goldenberries or whatever they grow. They can come, they can go to a soil science, they can learn about composting. One of the things that surprised me in Latin America was that, you know, obviously those tropical zones have some of the most robust and rich conditions for growing in the world. So a lot of the growers have been maybe poorly educated to think they need chemicals and a lot of different inputs, and they've been doing a very conventional way. So we're trying to show by example that sustainability can be achieved, and very low or no MRL can be achieved. And so again, we create this
Low,
cycle of,
you put a term there. I want to make sure listeners understand because I'm not sure. Low MRO, did you say?
I'm sorry, yeah, MRL, it means
MRL.
a minimum residual level. And this term is more frequently used in Europe, where there's very strict laws on, obviously in the US, we also have strict food safety laws. But in Europe, it's very common that the importer and the grocer will test each batch for chemicals and residuals. So Goldenberry Farms started with major clients in Europe that have very strict MRL rules. So we've always used that as our standard. So in other words, if it can't be sold in Switzerland at this specific grocery store, then we don't sell it anywhere, because
Hmm.
that's our own internal standard of growing.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes farmers are hesitant because they want to have that insurance on their crop, and they're afraid if they stop using chemicals and something happens, they'll lose the whole crop. So
Yeah.
sometimes growers like Goldenberry Farms have to show by example that, hey, you can have a commercial size operation and you can do it without glyphosate. You can do it without these herbicides. You don't have to kill everything on the ground and till the soil to have a crop. Quite the opposite, actually.
That's fantastic.
It's a simple message at the end, because I just say it because it's important. You know, healthier soil means healthier plants, and
Right.
healthier plants and trees mean healthier fruit. And
Yeah.
that's the cycle. It's as simple as that. In one spoonful of soil, you have more microbes than the entire human population on Earth. So we have
Wow.
a lot going on in the soil, and we want to make sure that that's our tool.
Yeah.
Um,
This is fantastic. I wasn't expecting this kind of education today, but our listeners love this kind of stuff. They like to know about how food is grown and the conditions that are needed. So this has been a real education. I appreciate that.
well,
But let's
I
talk a
think
little
a
bit
lot of
more
us.
about
Sorry.
gooseberries. First of all, what does the plant look like? Is it a tree? Is it a bush? Is it a vine? What do they look like?
We started with Goldenberries because a few reasons. It was a very healthy product that we thought we could introduce well to new markets. Also because it's a fast cycle crop. So remember, our investment initially was a social impact farm, and we didn't want to grow an orchard or something like a avocado or a lime tree that could take 4, 5, 7 years to actually start producing. We wanted something that the farms could get up and running more quickly. So a Goldenberry is actually, the Physalis peruviana is a scientific name, and it's a lot like a tomato plant. It can be a little
Oh,
bit like a vine. How we grow is we grow them up in a trellis type system,
uh,
um, and that allows us to manage the plants. We have a certain way of pruning that helps the plants create more flowers and more fruit per square inch, and maximize the crop and the efficiency of it. But yeah, it's very much in the family of cherry tomatoes.
oh, okay. So I was right about that comparison. That's that's good. I don't usually get those things right, but so they grow on these vines, and what's their season?
You know, the fruit has about an 18-month lifespan of productivity for commercial use. So generally it will start to produce around month 5. It will get into full production around month 7, and then you'll be able to maintain the production for about a year. So we plant in basically cycles to make sure that we're always producing without too much
Oh, that's
rotation.
interesting.
Do you have to ripen golden berries at all, or are they vine ripened?
We vine ripen them to what we call a stage 4, and then we let them continue to ripen.
So they will
Um,
ripen after harvesting,
they
like a
will ripen after
tomato.
harvesting
Yeah.
once it's past. Same as a tomato. If you pick
Yeah.
it too green, it's never going to ripen. So you got to get it as it's redding, but not too early, not too late.
Yeah. And are they grown? I know Colombia's topography is quite varied. You have some very high mountains, but you also have tropical. What microclimate are they best grown in?
A great question. Colombia is many different microclimates, and it's really a fascinating thing about that country in particular. But goldenberries thrive at higher altitudes, and the higher they're grown, the sweeter they are.
Ooh,
So our Medellin is a city that's in a valley, but it's in a very mountainous region. And so our farm is about 30 minutes outside of the city, and it's about a mile and a half above sea level. So it's quite a high place,
wow.
and it creates
That is
a
high.
zone. It's very cool in the mornings with a cloud forest, and then the cloud forest starts to burn off during the day, and they get some sunlight, and then the sunset, and it cools at night. So it's a very, very nice and beautiful zone to be in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's what Stu said, mile and a half, 7,500 feet about.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't realize Medellin was that high. Well, that's fantastic. So you can produce all year long, even at those high elevations. That's amazing too. That surprises me because you got to get snow in there, right? At 7,500 feet, you don't you?
No,
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 no
we don't.
snow.
We actually have it's in Fahrenheit, it's usually between 60 and 70 degrees.
Oh,
It's
really?
they call
Even at that
Medellin the
high elevation, that's amazing. Yeah.
city of eternal spring.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Well, so what else do you think our listeners would like to know about golden berries? You've given us the nutritional value. That was fantastic. I wanted to know that. You've told us how they're grown. Anything else you think that they might surprise them?
I think it might be surprising that a flavored item like goldenberry pairs exceptionally well with other fruit. And I
Mm,
would encourage everybody, if you try it, to try it in a berry mix. Mix it with blueberries, mix it with strawberries, or try it with mangoes, or try it with pineapple. It's a very, we cook and entertain for others, and flavor is really one of the reasons that we do that. And so when you're mixing in new ingredients, don't be afraid to experiment with it. Obviously we offer a lot of recipes and tips to help, but I mean, you really can't go
yeah,
wrong with fruit.
that yeah, that's great. I did want to ask about recipes, and they can find them on your website.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
what is that website?
It is goldenberryfarms.com.
Goldenberryfarms.com. Check it out. It is a beautiful website, and there's a lot of information about the fruits we're talking about if you miss it here today. So check that out. Look for those recipes. One thing that occurred to me, I've never done this before, but as you were just talking about it, I bet goldenberries would be great in a salad.
Great in a salad. Great in a
Chop them up a
salad.
little bit, give that sweet tart contrast to the other
They're
flavors.
they're also great actually to chop them in half, and you can put them in a pan with orange juice and create a reduction.
Oh,
And the orange juice will give it a little bit of a syrup, but you can use that for cheesecakes. You can use it as a syrup on pancakes.
yeah.
It's actually quite
Over ice
healthy
cream.
over ice cream. Goldenberry ice cream is delicious. Goldenberry in smoothie shakes. I think
Yeah.
goldenberries and uh, vanilla protein or vanilla ice cream is a great treat.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I usually can't take the time when I get them. I don't usually take the time to do anything with them. I just pop them in my mouth. I can't I can't do it.
When you make goldenberry salsa, is it as simple as just substituting that for tomatoes, or do you need other flavors?
You know that you it's really depending on taste, because there's people that will use red onions and cilantro and lime, and they say it's very good. I personally think goldenberry with lime is a nice combination because the lime actually makes the fruit sweeter. I don't, do you guys know that about tropical fruit? That you can sweeten mango or papaya with lime?
You sweeten it? No, I've not. I don't believe I've heard that. So if you add lime, it actually brings out the sugars in the fruit. Or what?
Yeah, it reactivates it too. So if you ever have a
Oh,
fresh cut and it's a couple days, after it's been cut, and you want to just reactivate it after you can put squeezed lime juice on it, and it will reactivate the flavor of that.
wow, that's a great tip. I've never heard that. Have you, Teresa or Rick, heard that
No,
before?
I've used lemon on mango, but
If you
never
go to
lime.
Colombia or you go to Mexico, you will see anyone that's eating fresh mango is going to squeeze lime on that fresh mango and put a little bit of salt. And that's how it's enjoyed.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I put lime
I-
on a lot of my fruit salads, fruit that I cut up, and I like just the extra little tart flavor it gives. But I
Yeah.
didn't think of it was sweetening it, but that's probably is.
We've been doing it with watermelon too. Watermelon with
Oh,
lime and a little bit of tahine, which is like a chili
oh
powder.
yeah, that tahini. In
Tahine is
California, they have these little fruit carts all over the place, and they
yes.
sell every kind of fruit, but they always sprinkle it with the tea.
So that's
Yeah.
why they put the lime in the coconut.
Chris,
may
I
be-
don't think Chris is old enough to remember that song. Do you
That's
remember
what I
that
was
song?
gonna say.
There was a song called "Put the Lime in the Coconut." It came out in the '70s. You have to Google that
I
and listen
will.
to it. It's a funny song. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about that availability because I can get them. I'm in Western North Carolina now. My business is in California, but I'm here in Western North Carolina, and we don't always have them on the shelves here. It's it sounds like you're really trying to increase the volume of this product and get wider distribution. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a capacity to provide, and we do provide in the US 12 months out of the year. And we have an expanding capacity. We grow now in 3 zones in Colombia. So just in case there is an issue with weather or particular fields, we have 3 different zones to have redundancies. And we do export every single week,
Yeah.
usually twice a week.
And do you only grow in Colombia?
Goldenberries are only grown in this Andean zone, and the Andean zone is Colombia, a piece of Ecuador, and a small sliver of Peru. So goldenberries are exported to the U.S. from primarily Colombia. They do come from Ecuador, and we do have an investment in Ecuador of greenhouses. So we're starting with indoor growing, and we're growing goldenberries indoor in Ecuador. So that product will be in the US market by December.
How do they compare to being grown out in just the open air? Is there a difference?
That could be a whole separate podcast for us, but the idea of growing indoors is, listen, at the end of the day, we can speak about fruit, and we're all fruit lovers here, but we also have just this industrial scale of supply that's needed if you're really going to service the grocers of the US and North America.
Right.
So in growing provides us with the redundancies and the efficiencies that are needed to have safe working conditions, to have very predictable output, to be able to say with confidence that there were no chemicals used. We know exactly what was on the plants. No animal ran through the field at night, no bird flew overhead. I mean,
Right.
so I think that, as a brand, Goldenberry is definitely investing now into more indoor growing of our high value crops. And that includes goldenberries, passion fruit, and some other trials that we're doing indoor. But I think
And
the
then do
American,
do you go still in soil even though it's indoors, or do you do hydroponic?
well, that's TBD. It's to be determined because we
Okay.
have 2 trials.
Testing it out.
One is soil and one is non-soil. We try a lot of things when we do that. We look for flavor, shelf life, texture, and try to understand how the same way that, changing the soil pH will affect the grape, which affects the wine. There's
Hmm.
a lot of inputs that you can study to see how you get the best quality fruit.
Right. How about Goldenberry wine?
Well, I haven't been there yet.
You
It'll be
haven't
on the
made that
sampler list.
yet?
I was offered a Goldenberry liquor when I was in Ecuador on a field after a very long day. Don't
Yeah.
recommend it, but someone made it.
I had a really good friend who was from Colombia, and when I was in college, we were really close, and he used to bring in, oh, what is it? Aguardiente? What is that? What?
Ardiente,
Aguardiente.
ardiente, sí.
Which is basically fire water. It's like moonshine.
Firewater. I feel every country has their version of
Yeah,
that.
they do. I don't think it was made from Goldenberries, although it probably could have been. Tell us about the other fruits that you grow and ship.
Let's talk about the big products for the U.S. because that's really, that's
That's our
really
primary audience. So that's,
primary audience.
yeah.
And I think that the U.S. customer is cheated a little bit. We don't have access to all of the fruit that a lot of other countries, like even Canada, has very different export-import regulations. I think because it's so much colder. So a lot of the exotics fly there. We fly 16 different exotic fruit to Canada as exporters, but we only have 3 that can come to the United States so
Oh,
far.
wow. So what are the 3 fruits that you import into the Goldenberries for sure?
Limes.
Limes.
Goldenberry. Limes is our primary fruit, actually.
So limes and what?
Mangoes. Mangoes is our
Mangoes.
third.
Okay.
Goldenberry is actually a very large grower of limes, of Tahiti limes. So we've through
Okay.
acquisition been acquiring
Is that the
lime.
variety? It's not you're not growing them in Tahiti. That must be a variety.
I wish I was growing them in Tahiti. We could have a whole luau podcast going on there.
Are those grown in
Yeah.
Colombia as well?
Yeah, Tahiti lime. You also hear them called Persian lime,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's a variety. It's known for the very deep, dark green skin and a juicy lime.
Yeah.
Goldenberry's mission, where good things grow, is to acquire existing farms and convert them into sustainable operations or focus on rural zones. And limes is our commodity item that helps drive a lot of the other high exotics.
Okay.
So we have line programs from Colombia that come by container. And a lot of times a retailer might start with limes or some bigger item, and they may then start to feel more comfortable to add some exotics here and there. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
a leap of faith. We are building a product which is called a conservation lime. So we're trying to make sure that all of the limes we source are from farms that have large conservation zones, and we have certain rules for that. And we've also committed that a percentage of all of our lime sales are earmarked for the animal conservation of the animals that live in whatever zone we're sourcing
Oh,
from.
that's right. So you're not so much changing the variety or the quality of the fruit, but it's more about how they're grown and conservation and sustainability.
I
Which is
think with
fantastic.
commodities, we have to take that step. We have to take that leadership step because the conversation is always about the color of the fruit and the price. But a lot of consumers, myself included, before I was in the produce industry, would go to a grocery store and never gave thought to how did this thing get here in front of me, you know what I mean, from across the world, and
Right.
who was involved with that process. But I'll tell you that Generation Z and the younger consumers, it's very interesting to watch them really, really question, where did this come from? How was it processed, or who
Yeah.
when they fairly paid. I really applaud that. I like to see it because
Right.
I having seen a lot now, having traveled the world on this crazy produce adventure, it's
Mhm.
it's unfortunate that in many cases the people that really give their life to wake up early and harvest our fruit and take such care to grow it are sometimes kind of left out of this value chain, and that's not right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. We've talked to a few others that are doing impact in that realm as well.
Yes.
And our listeners are very interested in where the food comes from, how it's grown, is it sustainable, and all of that. So congrats to you guys on that. Okay, time to talk about mangoes because you at Goldenberry Farms have a mango variety that is unique, and I want our listeners to hear about it.
So we are the owner of a brand of miniature mango called Sugar Mango.
Yeah.
And I know some people think that Sugar Mango is a variety, but it's actually a brand. So
Oh, okay.
miniature mangoes, you know, almost every fruit or vegetable comes in a dwarf variety. And in the mango world, there are dwarf varieties. Like Irwin has a dwarf, and Azúcar has a dwarf. And in general, there are mangoes that are dwarfed. If that small mango is low fiber and a certain Brix means sweetness, it qualifies to be under our Sugar Mango brand. So Sugar
Okay.
Mango are small, sweet, and easy to eat. So we
Right.
use different varieties to create sugar mangoes. And
Yeah, this is one of the fruits that I really wanted to talk to you about because
tell
are
me.
you the only importer of this variety?
Well, we have multiple importers, but they import under license. So it's the same
Okay.
as maybe envy apples or any other licensed fruit.
Got it.
So
Got it.
they will
But
we
you
will have
guys own the brand. Do you
we
own
own
the
the
brand?
brand. Yeah,
Yeah.
we own the brand. And we have, you know, different licensed partners. Even Melissa's is
Okay.
a licensed partner of Sweet Sugar Mangoes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have very, very good partners in distribution. And for the sugar mangoes, it's global. So we have partners in Canada, in each of the European countries. And it's a season that runs from March till about July, till about now.
It's
And
about
so
finished.
it's very much looked forward to, and every year it keeps getting bigger as we, you know, keep
Right.
working with people and introducing the fruit and different ways to enjoy it.
Yeah, I really have been wanting to try these because there's something about them that you haven't mentioned yet that makes them really unique. That you're not supposed to say really unique; it's just unique, but makes them unique.
Yeah, I think I know what you're about to say, and
How you eat them? Tell
how
us.
you eat them. I was, you know, there's always a joke when Americans travel to exotic places that the American is not so sophisticated in the ways of the world, right? So
Right.
there's always called the gringo joke, and so whenever you're somewhere, they always make a joke on you. So I was in Cartagena. This is about 10 years ago, and there was a little kid, and he took a piece of fruit out of his pocket and he ate it, and I swear it was a mango. So I said to my friend, I said, "What is that he's eating?" And she says, "Yeah, it's a baby mango." And I said, "It's not a baby mango." I was like, I know enough to know a baby mango is green and hard like a rock. That's not a baby mango. And she started laughing. She goes, "No, no, no." She's like, "That's what we call it. We call it baby mango, but it's its own thing. It's a miniature mango." So I said, "Can we find one?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." So we went down the street, and of course, on every corner is a food stand of these mini mangoes, and everyone was just taking them and eating them as an apple or as a peach, has a very thin edible skin.
Yeah.
So it's something that's very, very interesting because when we think of mangoes in the US, a lot of times that fruit has been hot water treated, or maybe it's not tree ripened. So a lot of Americans, we don't understand a tree ripened mango can be just eaten, but of course it has a thicker
Oh,
skin. You have to
so
be
any kind of mango you can eat the skin if it's tree
no,
ripened?
no,
No.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I misspoke. Tree ripened just means you can take it home and eat it, and
Yeah.
it's soft and really juicy and sweet.
Right.
But
But
these
you can't ship a tree ripened mango very successfully, though, I would think, right?
we
Do you?
do. Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a would knock on wood, but yeah, we in tens of thousands of cases, and it's like we laugh internally because it's like shipping dynamite, right? Because
Yeah.
you really have to work with vendors that understand that this has to move. So yeah, these are picked at a very specific level on the tree, and they are rapidly sorted, cleaned, processed, and sent to the US.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
color are they?
They're red, and well, this is another good question because a miniature mango can even be green on the outside, but the flesh is always like this bright orange and ready to eat.
Hmm.
The growers have a real skill to understand when that mango is ready to be harvested.
I assume they have a pit, and if so, how big is it? Does it take up a lot of the fruit, or is it?
No, it's proportional. I mean, it's a small piece of fruit. It's kind of like a peach in that respect. The pit's a little bigger.
Okay, that's good.
Do
Yeah.
they have to go through the hot water bath too?
they can't go through the hot water bath. We've
Yeah.
tried this for years to try to figure out what was the best way to import it. So what we do is we harvest them from the tree and we bring them in. The work plan is to have them sealed in bags, and we come in through a facility in McAllen, Texas, that treats them with electronic cold pasteurization. So basically, it's ions that clean the top of the fruit, and they would kill any pathogen, any mold. But it's really a very loved piece of fruit. So we, you know, we've made that one of our banner items. Usually, if you have a customer with a good experience with that, they'll be open to trying others.
Yeah, I really want to try
But-
them. I've not been able to find them here in North Carolina, but
Are the
So-
champagne mangoes that you see in the stores, are they considered a baby mango, or are they?
Champagne mango is a brand by
Okay.
Smuley Brothers of a Tulfo mango.
the two
So
yeah.
Tulfo is a little different because it's a little bit of a different makeup, and they're a little larger than the miniature mangoes.
Okay.
The zone in Colombia that where they grow is on the coast.
When I first read about them, I thought I read that they're grown on an island off the coast of Colombia. Is that true, or is it just anywhere on the coast?
Well, there's a few places on the coast. There might be an island that grows them too. I think anything
I
in
think
that.
what I read was that was where they originated. Anyway, we know it's coast of Colombia, and that's the
Coast of Colombia. They also the miniature Irwins grow in Spain and
Oh.
some in Europe too.
wow. Do you market your limes and mangoes under Goldenberry Farms, or is that a different brand?
We do. Everything is marketed under Goldenberry Farms. We're
Okay,
keeping-
so I can tell the listeners to look for Goldenberry Farms in the produce
ask
section
for Goldenberry Farms
and ask for them. Okay, got it. Well, listen, we will have to have you back because I think we're out of time. I'm sure you've got other things to do in your schedule.
First of all, thank you very much for having me on. It was
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I'm blown away. I knew it was going to be interesting, but you really
Well-
brought a lot more info than I was expecting. So.
No, I think listen, for anybody listening, you know, we all can make an impact, even though we may not realize it with the things we buy and with our behaviors. And I think to let anyone who's listening know you have more impact than you realize. So, you know, always try to do the right thing and always try to understand where did that thing that I'm buying come from, and how can I use my dollars? Doesn't matter if it's $1, $2. How can I use my money to really do the things that I believe in? You know, if I think things should go a certain way, buy things that way and ask for the traceability. The supermarkets are very happy to oblige with that, and you know, they're there to serve us, the customer, and you know, they understand that customers have a right and a curiosity to understand, hey, I'm about to eat this. I'm about to give it to my children. I want to know, you know, where does it come from? How was it treated? What does that mean? You know,
Right.
so I would just say that just be a good consumer and do that, and try to you know, try to support things that are sustainable and that are helping for the next generation.
That's a great message, Chris. Wow, what inspiring message, and what a great way to finish up. Thank you for that. Now,
Sure.
there's only one thing left to do, Chris.
Have some mangoes.
Well, that will do. But I didn't warn you. I didn't tell you this because I'm afraid you might back out.
Okay.
But there's a very painful ritual
Uh-oh.
that every one of our guests have to go through when they're on the show.
Tell me.
And so here's the deal. Teresa loves puns. So she likes to find these puns about fruits and veggies. And so we created a specific segment on the show called Homegrown because the puns are so bad that you only can groan. You can't laugh. Okay. And you got to go through it. You got to sit through this painful pun. So here a little bit more about it. Usually the pun is in the form of a question, and we try to guess what the punnable answer is. So she's going to give us the pun. We'll take a few minutes to think about it. Rick and I will try to think of an answer. You try to think of an answer. See if you can come up with the pun. And then we'll see what the pun is. And then you'll be tortured. So Teresa, what is our homegrown of the day?
Why did the Goldenberry feel that he had to see a psychiatrist?
Okay, let's think this through a bit. Why did the Goldenberry think he had to see a psychiatrist? Pun, some kind of pun in this. Rick, what do you think? You got it? I'm coming up blank. Why did the Goldenberry think he had to see a psychiatrist?
Because he thought he was a nut.
Oh, that's bad.
I love it. I love
That's
it.
bad.
I think
How
it's better
about, how
than
about
mine.
you, Chris? You got any guesses?
Well, I'm like going a mind a minute here. English is my second language, so
Wow.
dare you guys
I
to
wouldn't have
throw
guessed that.
I'm working on it. Yeah.
Well, you can just get the torture over with if you don't want to try. I can't come up with anything either.
Okay.
But okay, no, he wants to try. We'll give him
Okay.
time.
Just
All
want to
right.
try. Something he wasn't sweet enough. No.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
He had a split personality. No, that doesn't make any
No,
sense either.
no. Okay, you
All
guys
right.
got to give up.
All right, we're giving up.
All
Chris,
right.
it looks
so-
like Chris still wants to try to guess.
I
This is
do,
a
but it's going to
challenge
take
for
us
him.
over time. Yeah. Go ahead, Teresa.
Okay, Teresa. Why?
Okay.
Repeat it.
Why did the Goldenberry feel he had to go to a psychiatrist? Because he had a lot of internalized guilt, G-I-L-T, guilt, as in gold, guilt.
Oh, guilt, gold. The word, another word for gold. Oh, was that bad or was that bad?
That's a
Oh,
challenge.
man. Would have never got that. You're too literary for us. We only read trash
Yeah,
novels.
we
We
a
don't
whole
read this.
separate podcast.
Oh, anyway, sorry, Chris.
Well,
I'm
they
sorry.
do have a split personality. They are sweet and sour.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
That's what I was trying to think of.
That one fit, yeah.
I got close. All
I
right.
should have said because he identified as a nut.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's still not
Okay.
funny, Rick. Okay, well, thank you so much, Chris. This has
Thank
been
you,
a lot
guys.
of fun and so informative.
Absolutely.
Really blown away.
Pleasure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm really impressed that you were able to go from the vitamin business to produce where you're growing it and you're having to you're working with the varieties and everything. That's amazing that you did that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's and also learning a new culture because growing in the US is different than growing in Latin America, but we really enjoying the process. And we also opened during COVID. So imagine your first export
Oh,
ever
wow.
was during a lockdown. So looking
Yeah.
back, I think I really believe in trial by fire because we were like, well, it's going to work or not, and we started, and it's like really can only get logistics can only get better from this point that we are. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Noble goal. Congratulations and keep up the good work. And thanks for taking the time. Honored to have you here. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Chris. It
Pleasure.
was
Good work.
great meeting you.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank you.
week. Take
Okay,
care.
bye.
Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the Produce Buzzers podcast, brought to you by Produce Buzz, the gathering place for lovers of fresh fruits and veggies. We hope you were entertained a bit and educated a lot about fresh produce. Be sure to join us next time, and please tell your friends to do so as well. Like, share, and comment on our Produce Buzz Facebook page, and check out our website at www.producebuzz.com. There you will find articles about fresh fruits and veggies, how to select, store, and prepare them, as well as lots of interesting facts about all the wonderful bounty the earth provides for us. Until next time, be fruitful and don't forget to veg out.